Hello, everyone. Thank you for listening to Williams Bain podcast. I've got a guest with us today who I've known for, God, I bet it's over 15 years. It's a chap called Stephen Clifford. Stephen and I have worked together before. We put Stephen into one of our FTSE 100 clients, and he did some great work for us. He's a specialist within transformational change, but predominantly in ERP implementations, recovery, turnaround. He's got good experience across lots of ERP systems, but in particular, he's got deep experience within SAP. So, Stephen, thanks for joining us. And why don't you say hello to everyone and maybe introduce yourself a little bit?
Okay, thank you, Mark. Good afternoon, everyone. Steve Clifford. I've been around the ERP space for many, many years, particularly SAP, either helping clients from the outset get ready for the program and deliver from scratch, or going in when things get difficult, to also those that need major turnaround, possibly change of SI partners and what have you. Never easy, but great place to be and got a real passion for it.
Thank you. That's certainly the commentary that we had from our client in terms of the passion that you brought to a program, and a program that they were, I wouldn't say they were scared of it, but there was a lot of fear around, if we get this wrong, there could be some serious consequences. Yeah. So you must have walked into so many situations where the board are thinking, right, we've got to do this, but I don't really want to do this. What is that like? How do you get them to be excited about it?
Well, I have maybe a morbid sense of, I have a passion for it. These SAP engagements are not easy. C-level people often have experience with that client or previous client, where they've been through the sort of transformational change that takes place. And there's a nervousness and anxiety. They're very unique situations, but this is why, why we're here. Bring the experts in. I always like sort of stories, metaphors. Canary in the coal mine. Bring them in. Hold the hand. Listen to the advice. Listen to the advice, and let's get cracking. The change is bigger than you think. It's 85% of an SAP program is not the technology. It's usually the people, the jobs, and the process. But bringing in the right people, preparing the business internally is really important before you start. Get ready. A term I use is get fit on the inside. Selecting an A team of people, the right governance structure, helping the client choose the right SI partner. That's really, really important. And hold on tight. We can do these things. I've never failed. I've worked with great people, and it's about building a great team and then delivering it ruthlessly.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I think, you and I were talking before. We've known each other a long time now, but we tried to sort of create a question around what we could talk about, because it's so easy to jump down different rabbit holes with SAP, with ERP, and these are big projects. So the question that we sort of agreed upon was, what do you do if you think your SAP program is off track, but the status reports show green? And before we talk about that, let me tell you about a little story, how one of our clients realized that there was a problem with their ERP delivery. And this was SAP, but nothing against SAP. This could have been any ERP. And this is a family-owned, just under £1 billion business, so quite private. And we were doing a lot of work for them, but not around the ERP. They thought that was something that a specialist should take care of. So they went to one of the large consultancies, let's say, And I was talking to him, and he's a family member, he's a high net worth individual. Not many people say no to him generally. And I said to him, when did you know this wasn't going right? Because it wasn't going right. And he said, when the consultant cars were arriving before my employees' cars, and the car park was full. That's like, oh shit, that's cost you a lot of money, hasn't it? And he's like, yeah, money, reputation, all those things. So, sorry, I had to share that story because it's one that I will always remember in terms of you need to get this right from the start, because the cost can escalate really quickly, and then you can't get out of it. But going back to that example, what should he have done? Because his gut feeling was telling him well before the car park was filling up there was a problem. But what should he have done?
This is a common theme. I think you get to plus 40 years of age, and there's something called a gut feel. And if your gut feel tells you something, and this is your area of expertise, go with it. Always go
I agree with that.
If it doesn't look right, if it doesn't feel right, smell right, it's probably not right. And be very wary of the status reports that show green. So the more learned, the big four, big five consultancies, greatest respect, they're no silver bullet for success. And I can remember going to Saudi a couple of years ago, massive company, the biggest private company in Saudi Arabia. They had a status report of 142 PowerPoint slides a week. And green. We've never seen so much green, but it was never right. And the chief exec that brought me in asked me what I thought, and I said I felt that it was red across the board, which is exactly turned out to be the case. If your gut feel tells you it's not right, you must act fast, because 80% of these programs fail. They fail in as much as they're either de-scoped to hit a deadline, they are massively overspent, or the timeline can be years later than promised. I've seen all three of those scenarios. So if it doesn't feel right, act fast. Bringing in an independent review team is a smart thing to do. The incumbent SI partners probably won't like it very much, but a good one that is open for challenge shouldn't have a problem with that. But getting someone to come in and just have a quick look around the estate. If the car park's full before the employees get there, clearly they're trying to, triage some issues. Get somebody in there that knows what they're doing in terms of they've done turnarounds, and they may give a completely clean bill of health to the current program and how it is. I'll bet my house on the fact that 99% of the time that's not going to be the case, and there is an issue. So do it quickly and get somebody in there that knows and has been there before that can help you sort it out.
What happens if let's say we've got a CEO sponsor or CFO sponsor for the program, and I think it has to be one of those two. I don't think there's any other option. Then what happens if they're just a little bit apprehensive to rock the apple cart and bring in this independent to check on the people that are delivering it now? What would you say to them?
That's your job. The shareholders would expect you to do nothing less than that. It's happened to me on programs before. I've gone into a global implementation of SAP that was being run by SAP themselves. I was brought in to turn it round. We did it. I had pulled a great team around me to help that take place. We had another party were brought in to do some quality checks further downstream, and invite them in. No problem at all. Nothing to hide. Nothing you're worried about. And we had a clean bill of health. Be careful of the partner that doesn't want that person around or that team around, because I would suggest they're either not as confident as they should be, or there's something that is awry.
That's a good point, because like you said, if you've got someone that's open to challenge, someone that's open generally, then that should be fine. If your gut feeling as the CEO or CFO is that that's going to upset the person, chances are that person is probably not doing the right thing.
Exactly.
And your gut feeling is correct. And like we said before, listen to your gut, because you don't build all this experience and then ignore it.
It's as I say, I can remember one project where on the Friday they had a steering committee. Everything was green for go live on Monday. On Monday, the program crashed. They went live and it crashed. The cost of change is exponential. Every phase you step along from the outset of planning and preparation through to go live to go stable, cost of change is exponential. So a steering committee were presented and approved go live, and on the Monday it went live and it crashed over the edge of a cliff. The cost of recovery was astronomical. I joined the program at that stage and we turned it round with not a lot of change of people, a very different change of working attitude and status reporting. But if you have a feel that it's not right, you've got to put your hand up. You've got to get as many quality controllers around the place as possible. And I've always felt if somebody wants to mark my homework, that's fine. If someone's nervous about letting you do that, and it happened just last year for me there's a huge retail supermarket group going through an SAP implementation. I was brought in to do the homework review piece. The incumbent party didn't want to play ball. Really did not want to play ball whatsoever. My report was done, and sadly, everything I said is coming true. They had plenty to hide, and they didn't want people marking their homework.
So disappointed. And let's say that you go in and you do a report like that. How long does a report take, first of all, and is it disruptive?
It's not disruptive. It can't be disruptive to the team that are obviously focused on tight timescales and what have you. It's trying to be. You try and be as not to disturb the status quo, but clearly you need to have some time with key people, interview, and to put some sort of heat map together of findings and recommendations. It can often add value. And that's the other thing is, well, you're sitting with people and you're bouncing ideas, and they may be the person, the team lead for data, or it could be the team lead for integrations. You could talk things through. And I've always been quite open to giving, asking, getting advice, giving a few tips and tricks. And it's a two-way thing. But don't disturb matters, but you have a job to do, and you'll do it one way or the other. And it can be a big value add for both sides.
And can this take sort of months or weeks, or how long do they normally take?
I think probably 3 weeks. I've had to do them in 2 weeks, and it's too short. It's too short a period.
Okay.
Ideally a month. You can crash it and try and do it in 3 weeks. Again, you sort of get to that post-40 age group that we're in, and you've seen it, heard it, smelt it before. You know which rabbit holes to focus on, and before you know it, you're down the rabbit hole. and having laser guided intuition and focus, you can really pick up the spots. If it's like a heat map approach, you could see where the red areas of focus should be pretty quickly.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense. And I know the original question is around what do you do if you think your SAP program is off track, but the status reports show green. But what about if the status reports are showing green? You don't particularly think it's off track, but you can definitely see some value in someone coming in on a 3-monthly, 6-monthly basis and just, like you said, go in, independent review, and just check everything's okay. Is that a good idea to have someone like that to do that?
Absolutely, absolutely. The investment in having that done cannot be underestimated. One thing I did on a big manufacturing with a big manufacturing client on back was we did some business readiness reviews. So -3, -6, and -7 months before go live. The project team was scoring readiness and red, amber, green. We asked the client to assess where they thought they were at, and they thought they were green, amber, and then an external team of 3 came in at those key points before go live and did it. And I mean, they were pretty hard on the client, but we wanted to test it. We wanted to make sure it was bulletproof. So we checked the same areas that we'd asked the client to judge themselves on, and there was usually a big variance between what they thought was ready and what we thought was ready, and it was meant in a spirit of cooperation and challenge, and that was a super thing to do, because you could then come up with an action plan to get things onto a green readiness. And go live was superb. Go live was absolutely superb. Cutover was easy. The business levels of manufacturing, goods in, goods dispatch, all that was just simple. It was absolutely simple, because I think we went through those challenges earlier on, and most people don't do that. They cut those things out. They cut out, if they slip time, they wouldn't even consider that. I just thought it was a smart thing to do. We did it, and go live was a singe.
Yeah, I agree. I think when you've got such a large project that could be so disruptive if it's wrong, and it won't be disruptive for the period that it gets until it gets fixed. It'll be disruptive for years. Yep. Because now you've got a business that's thinking, well, we're not very good at doing this, or why should I use this system? And it has lots and lots of knock-on effect into it. In terms of a client that is looking to implement SAP, if they're thinking, okay, I'm going to get in a large consultancy, I'm going to get in a reputable SI, system integrator, and I'm going to have some good people in my organization who I trust. Is that enough? Have they done enough to ensure or to guarantee to some extent a successful implementation?
Interesting. Choosing a Big Four partner who's no silver bullet to success. In fact, some of the biggest SAP failures, program failures, have been managed by Big Four partners, and even SAP themselves. Usually bringing in, and I always like to work client side, managing the external SI partner. I like to work client side, helping the client choose an SI partner, and then managing them, making sure they keep it, they do what it says on the tin, reminding them about the RFP and their approach and all the things they said they'd do when they were bidding for the job. Selecting a team of people that have been there, seen there, and done it is really important. Choosing an SI partner is an interesting one. Clients absolutely must take up references. If you were employing me, you would take up references. No problem. But I see clients engage with SI partners and they don't talk to previous clients. So if you were choosing A, B, and C, I would ask each of them to provide you with 4 previous clients where you've done this wonderful work with this fantastic best practice methodology you're selling us. I'd like to speak to at least 2 clients where you've done this in the last 2 years. Talk to those clients in depth and really find out what worked, what didn't work, and well, more's the case, do they exist? Clients don't do it. It's time consuming, but it's the most valuable thing that they can do.
Yeah, I agree with that. We've helped clients do that in the past. So I've had a CFO that's spoken to me about choosing an SI partner. They've explained who the SI partner is, and they've explained which ERP that they've chosen, which vendor. And then what I've done is I've given them some insight into which other companies I know that have also used the SI partner for that ERP vendor. And then what I've done is I've introduced that CFO into the CFO of the other company for them to just go out, have a coffee, have a beer, a conversation over the phone. I mean, it's great for the CFO's network anyway, because, it's a lonely job. But also it means that you're not asking the SI for the recommendation and they're choosing who to go to. What I'm doing is I'm picking out who I know and then making this soft introduction as I know them both pretty well. That's worked really well in the past.
It's priceless, and it rarely happens. The other thing I did with one client, these are time consuming, and they're often RFPs these days. Sometimes just don't happen for huge programs, and they absolutely must for clarity and governance. Speaking to the reference sites without the SI partner in attendance, you want to find out why they did such a great job there. What didn't they do so well, and things to look out for. And they will be very, very open as you get into the conversation. That's really important. The other piece of work is getting a solicitor to draw up a contract for said SI partner, which is outside normal terms of trading. Really important that you draw up a contract that is fit for purpose, is fit for an SAP project. Or
Interesting.
Division 365, whatever.
Yeah.
SI partners hate it. But I spoke to a client last week who, when they went live a couple of years ago, lost 4 weeks of global production. 40 different countries manufacturing, lost global production. This was with a Big Four partner. Now, that's an appalling piece of work for anybody, quite frankly. How that happens, I don't know. Liquidated damages these days are quite restricted. Getting a contract that is fit for purpose, fit for an SAP project, is really, really important. Getting the other smart things of making sure the internal team that is deployed to the project is the A team. You need the A team, not people in the departure suite. You want your best people in that project because you're building the solution for the next 20 years to enable AI and all the other wonderful things that are coming along.
I'd completely agree with that. I don't think clients realize sometimes that whether they go to a management consultancy or whether they go to an SA partner or both, they can choose who's on that team. They are the customer. They can choose.
Good tip. Mark. Yeah. Poachers and gamekeepers. I remember turning up at a telecoms company years ago when I was with PwC. So I used to be the poacher in those days. And you turn up with the A team for the presentation, and suddenly you're not available. You never were going to be available on that job. So I always say to clients, interview every single consultant that is on your job. It doesn't matter who it comes through. If it's a Big Four partner, it doesn't matter. They're all good people, sure. But you need to interview every single person that's going to come on board. So if it's somebody in the data team, you want your data lead to make sure that you think that person is the A team. And be careful of, the old story of the final presentations. You'll see the A team from the SI partner, By the time you get round to engaging and mobilizing, getting them on site, they're gone. They went somewhere else. You've got to make sure you've got committed names on the project and they're locked in for the duration of that project.
Yeah, this is where having an expert on your side helps. So I often say to clients going through an ERP, it's fine if you don't want a team from us. It's fine if you don't want individuals from us, and it's fine if you want to do it. But we have access to some of the best people in the world to deliver and recover these types of programs. Wouldn't it be great to have that person in your pocket so they can feed you the right questions to ask in the meetings? Just that alone will add measurable value and will make everyone in the room realize that they've got to do the right job, otherwise you're going to call them out on it. And I think for what it costs, it's very little compared to what, how much risk you're mitigating. It's a very low cost.
Spot on.
Yep. Back to the original question, which is, what do you do if you think your SAP program is off track, but the status reports show green? So what I've understood so far is that you bring in someone independent who's going to be non-disruptive, who can do a review in 3 to 4 weeks and make sure they're cross-checking and make sure they give you either a clean bill of health or they give you the areas where you're going to have some problems. And then at that stage, you can make a decision on what to do.
Correct. Yep.
Would you say that's correct?
Yep, that's spot on. There's always things that can be done better. There has to be a value add in that piece of work, but it can be soft advice sometimes to the program generally about you might want to focus a little bit more on the data cleansing, for instance, or something. But confirming the scope of the program as a third party coming in and looking at what you think, really important. It could be that it's needs some attention here and here. That's fine. It could be that it needs more radical surgery quickly. And often, I've never been brought into a program that doesn't need fairly, how can I put it, more serious attention or turnaround. Sometimes it can be the program director. They've just burnt out or they've just switched off or whatever.
Yeah.
Sometimes it can be the SI partner themselves are just not delivering. They're just not, up to scratch. And it depends on what it is. But if you feel that there's something wrong, just go back to what Gartner says. Gartner says between 55 and 70% of these programs fail. So they're either late, de-scoped, or massively overcost. I think the figure's higher. I think it's 80 to 85%. I've heard of programs going live with very light HR, but they were supposed to originally have had the scope of finance, procurement, inventory control, and HR, heavy, not light. And a Big Four partner went live with light HR only to prove, oh yes, we've gone live on time, which was complete nonsense, of course. Don't be afraid. If it doesn't feel right, get somebody in quickly. Have a look. The most difficult programs can be resolved. But if you leave it too late, the cost of change becomes exponential, much more expensive as time goes on. You can triage issues, prioritize them, shift people around, move SI partners in and out quite quickly if you know what you're doing. And there are good people around to do that.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I think the takeaway for everyone is that if your gut's saying it's not quite right, then trust your guts and do something like this, which is non-intrusive, but do it now. Don't wait a couple of weeks or a month or something like that, because these things just tend to increase in pace and then increase in problems. And then before you know it, you're increasing in costs, and then your reputation starts to go down the pan very quickly. That's not where everyone wants to be. So Stephen, thank you very much for your time, sir. I think a lot of people are going to get a lot out of this, and especially the ones that are thinking about an ERP or are going through an ERP at the moment. And we've probably had a few smiles from people that have been through an ERP system and said, you know, that's great advice. I wish I'd have heard that before I started.
Yep. Get in touch. That's what we're for. That's what we do.
Brilliant. Stephen, thank you very much, sir. It's good to see you. Cheers.
Appreciate your time. Thank you. Bye-bye.